This presentation is an analysis of the preface to Mary Shelley's novel Frankenstein and the first four letters that introduce the novel. Overview of Frankenstein and preface to the novel. Mary Shelley began writing her novel Frankenstein at age 19 when she and the man who became her husband, Percy Bysshe Shelley, their neighbor, Lord Byron, Byron's mistress, Claire or Jane Clairmont, and Byron's friend and physician, Dr. John William Pidori, were trapped indoors on vacation in the Swiss Alps during the unseasonably cold and rainy summer of 1816. The group of friends entertained themselves by reading German ghost stories, which inspired them to have a contest to see who could write the best ghost story. Mary Shelley's ghost story won. She later edited her story and 2 years later published her famous novel Frankenstein, which became an immediate bestseller. Mary Shelley was very well read. She makes many literary allusions or references throughout the novel. For example, Frankenstein is compared to Prometheus, who, according to Greek mythology, creates life and, like Prometheus, he is punished severely for this. Prometheus is punished by playing God and having his liver eaten by an eagle, just to have it grow back and be eaten again and again. Frankenstein is compared to Prometheus by Shelley because he is punished severely for playing God by creating the monster from dead body parts. Another allusion comes as an epigraph, a engraving or short reference to another piece of literature. That is a quote from Milton's Paradise Lost, which basically asks if he was created from darkness to never learn anything. This quotation asks why we were given the capability by God to think and question if we are not supposed to do so. The preface to the novel is signed by Mary Shelley, but it was actually written by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Overview of letters. Frankenstein uses a literary technique to tell the story of the scientist Victor Frankenstein and his creation of a monster or creature called framing, which is the enclosing of one story within another. In this case, the novel uses a series of letters from Robert Walton, who is on an expedition to find a passage through the Arctic Ocean to the North Pacific Ocean via the seas of the North Pole, to his sister, Margaret Saville, who's back in England. The letters help the novel give the novel credibility and make it seem more realistic. Robert Walton seems like a rational, knowledgeable character and gives a reason for the story of Victor Frankenstein to be told. The letters also introduce significant themes such as the problems with science being used to conquer nature, the importance of close relationships or friendships, and going on a quest for knowledge. Frankenstein is not a mad or evil scientist. He loves his family, and he has a noble intent when he creates the monster, a desire to create life and expand his scientific knowledge. Because of this, we feel sympathetic towards him later as he becomes alienated from his family and when bad things happen to his family members. The novel is a series of flashbacks told after the demise of Frankenstein, who becomes reduced to a crazed maniac searching desperately for his monster, who has wreaked havoc on his family and others, and the letters set up the reader to hear his tale. Letter 1. In Letter 1, Robert Walton writes from St. Petersburg, Russia to his sister Margaret Saville. Notice she has the same initials as Mary Shelley, M.S., who is back in England. He tells her of his plans to first travel to Archangel, modern-day Angeliski, Russia, to hire a crew and obtain a ship for his expedition to find a passage through the Arctic to the North Pacific Ocean through the seas of the North Pole. He says he will wait until June to begin, when the polar seas melt, and tells her he won't return for months or even years unless he is unsuccessful, in which case he will return earlier and perhaps not at all. Many romantic writers make up for a lack of formal education by undertaking adventures such as travel to broaden their minds and spirits. Mary Shelley's own travels through Europe with Percy Bysshe Shelley influenced the scenery of the novel quite a bit. Walton tells his sister he is going on his adventure to expand his knowledge, thus introducing one theme of the novel, the quest for knowledge. Remote settings such as the Arctic Circle and St. Petersburg, Russia are characteristic of the far-off and exotic settings that were so popular in Romantic literature. Letter 2. In Letter 2, Walton tells his sister that it is now March and he is lonely now that he has made it to Archangel, Russia. He tells her he works steadily to ready his ship and crew for the expedition to the North Pole. He yearns for someone like himself to pass the time. This letter introduces another important theme in the novel, alienation and the need for friendship. He also shares his personal emotions and desires, which is typical of Romanticism. Letter 3. Letter 3 is written in July, and in it Walton tells his sister how his ship is passing through ice fields and warmer than expected weather. He is optimistic that he will be successful at this point, and all is well. The mild weather parallels his positive attitude and happy state of mind. In the novel, the weather and natural surroundings often parallel the state of mind and emotional condition of the characters. Thus, the romantic belief in humanity's emotional and spiritual ties to nature is used in the letters, as it will be throughout the novel. Letter 4. Letter 4 is written in August. Walton tells of how his ship gets stuck in an ice field where the crew sees a man of gigantic stature, which the reader finds out is the creature that the scientist Victor Frankenstein created. And he is spotted trailing a dog sled team going north and passing within a half-mile of Walton's ship. Note that it is the scientist who is named Frankenstein, not the creature or monster that he created. Popular movies based on Shelley's novel later changed the monster's name to Frankenstein. Walton also tells his sister how they also spot and rescue another man floating free on a giant piece of ice. After sleeping for a few days, the survivor, Victor Frankenstein, tells his story of the creation of his monster and the disasters that follow. This is how the novel Frankenstein is introduced. This letter also introduces Gothic elements with the eerie and mysterious monster in a fantastical, isolated place, which creates a sense of doom. Frankenstein is the monster, and his monster act as doubles for one another, which is commonly used in Gothic literature. Walton rejoices in the new friendship and companionship he finds in Victor Frankenstein, again introducing the theme of the importance of friendship and perils of alienation that is central in the novel.